Ladies and gentlemen, this is One Wrestling Goes Old School, episode number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't know me, I am the Mark of the Masses, the man with the plan. Big Ray here to stay to talk some old school wrestling today, and I am joined by my tag team brother over here. He is the encyclopedia of pro wrestling. You know him on Twitter as You Got the Show. I know him affectionately as my big brother, Bill Schuyler. Bill, what's up, my friend?
Ray, what is going on, my friend? Are we ready?
We are ready to talk some old school. Before I jump into that, I just want to give a quick plug to Billy Ray Valentine, co-host of the Billy Ray Hustle, of the Pro Wrestling Hustle, with his tag team partners, that being the Professor and A-Track Brown. They have a great podcast. You can find them on iTunes and, of course, Podbeam. Again, the Pro Wrestling Hustle. Find Billy Ray on Twitter at Billy Ray Valentine. Again, at Billy Ray Hustle. I always get that mixed up, Bill. Did you?
I get it the same way.
And don't forget our leader, our fearless leader, the legend, Bill Apter, One Wrestling, at Apter One Wrestling on Twitter. Don't forget Andre Corbeil. Andre Corbeil, yesterday, he actually did a great review for TNA Impact this past Wednesday. So, ladies and gentlemen, check that out if you haven't checked that out yet at OneWrestling.com. Andre Corbeil, Impact Wrestling recap and review. And today is Thursday night. It is 8/28/2014. But we are going back in the day, Bill, as you would say. Don't forget to check out the Can-Am Wrestling Show also every Friday and Saturday, every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, now that I got all those plugs out of the way, we're ready to go back. So why don't you take it away, Bill?
All right, we're going to travel back to 1999 WWF Royal Rumble. We're in the midst of the corporation, and The Rock has left the people and has become the corporate, soon-to-be champion. The corporate eyebrow, the corporate elbow, everything. Jabronis, monkey asses, all of it. And the match is against the champion, Mrs. Foley's baby boy, Mankind, in an I Quit match. And this is one of the most, I would say, one of the most famous, one of the most violent WWF matches, pro wrestling matches, period, up until that point. And it's something that's still talked about to this day if it went too far. And it goes on, and we'll talk about that with the amounts of the of concussions and the like. What do you, with this show, with the match? Tell me what you thought about that time when you were growing up.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, that match actually has affected wrestling today. I think Vince McMahon, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon look back at that match. This is why we don't see headshots in WWE, yes, head chair shots right now. Concussion syndrome, so on and so forth. That match, to this day, I remember watching that match. I was a young teenager watching that match, and I said, damn, like, it did have a I'm not going to say a positive impact, but it really pulled me in. It told a story. You know how they say, certain matches tell a story? This one told one hell of a story. The Rock, Ruthless. This is way before Ruthless Aggression. This is the Attitude Era. Yeah. I was excited. I remember being very excited to see this match. This is, again, when WWE and WCW were going head-to-head. They were kind of going back and forth in the ratings, I think, at this point. Or maybe WCW was just ahead in the ratings, if I'm correct. Am I right?
Yeah, they were just beating them out, and this is where the WWF really started pouring it on,
right,
and taking it to the level of Extreme. They very much borrowed off of Paulie Dangerously, Paul Heyman's ECW, and put that at a corporate level.
Oh yes, they did,
with all the fancy tweets and pyro and everything else. But the damage and the violence factor was there, and this match had it all. This match was in the ring. This match was out of the ring. It was in the crowd. It was up on the railings. We had everything from yam bag shots to the infamous thing where the Rock handcuffed Mankind behind.
Oh, my gosh.
And told him, say it.
Did you ever watch the Monday Night War DVD WWE did? It was where WCW. It broke down from the beginning to the end. They really showed Well, number one, Noelle Foley. You know Noelle Foley, Mick
Yes.
Foley's daughter. She's actually a good friend of Peter Rosenberg. She's always on Cheap Heat on
Awesome.
that podcast. She's awesome and beautiful.
Yes, she is.
But I remember seeing little Noelle and her brother just like bawling and crying in the arms of Mick Foley's wife, and dude, like, could you imagine like putting your kids through that, man?
It's tough. I'll tell you, I'm a big Mick Foley guy, and I've seen a lot of his matches on the independents before when he had left WCW, and he was heavily in the Philadelphia area long before ECW, and I actually had met him and his wife numerous times,
Okay.
and seen him in a lot of violent situations, a lot of blood spilt in different feuds he had with Eddie Gilbert, Terry Funk. Not to go off on any kind of rant with that, but this match here, this was different. This wasn't an independent show. This wasn't some dark bingo hall. This was on a major pay-per-view, and questions of was it fake or is it not, nobody was asking that, because there was no doubt in the mind. There was no arm up in front of the chair.
No.
And this was supposed to be 5 shots. That's all it was supposed to be.
How many shots was it in total?
It wound up being a total of, I believe, 11 shots to the head, and it was just
violent,
and he hit him hard, and he was bleeding. I mean, his head split wide open, and he just kept going, and he wouldn't go down.
Like real quick, like, just talking about it now, this is the impact that this match actually had.
I got chills.
Right? Didn't you get chills? Like grimace. Like, anybody watching right now, OneWrestling.com or YouTube/OneWrestling video, just really think about that match. Think about the ferocity of those chair shots as The Rock was laying in to Mick Foley, and Mick Foley totally unprotected, laying on the mat, knowing, because there were a couple of times that he would look into the crowd at his children, knowing that his kids were suffering, his wife was suffering. His wife actually had to get up and walk out of the arena with the children.
Yes.
My God. I mean, it was so vicious, but it did the job, man.
It put over, like everybody else that Mick Foley has done in his career, at the expense of his own body, his own livelihood, his own future health, and his health at the time, to put somebody over, whether it be Triple H, whether it be The Rock, Randy Orton. It doesn't matter. Mick is a guy that is brought up in the old school ways, and you help that younger talent out and push him over, and it built him up and gave him his shot, made him champion. You know, he got something that Mick Foley never thought he would have in his life, to be WWF champion, and he did it. You know, when he was a kid, jumping off the roof, you know, into the mattresses and stuff like that, and doing the crazy things when he was Dude Love back in his teenage years. You know, every kid dreams, one day they could, if you're wrestling, I'll be the world champion. This guy did it. He's went all over the world, and he's done every kind of wrestling, from Japanese death matches to John Cena. This is your life.
And let's be honest, dude. I mean, as a sports entertainer, probably one of the best of all time. As a mat technician, not so good. I mean, he threw horrible kicks, horrible punches. I mean, he took bumps in the worst way. He didn't protect himself when he took bumps. I mean, he was horrible. I mean, do you remember back, really quickly, and I want to move on a little bit, but do you remember back in the NWA days when he was Cactus Jack and Bill Watts had removed all the mats from around the ring?
Bill's Mascaris.
Dude, and he would jump from the freaking apron and do that elbow drop onto the concrete.
That is what's going to cause him sometime in the next 10 years. He's going to have his hip replaced.
Poor guy, man.
From doing that.
I should say poor guy.
And the match there, that was the one. That was Clash of Champions, because that's what always comes to my mind. Mills Mascaris jumps up and hits him off of the ring apron, and he went down and he smacked the back of his head into the concrete, and you could hear it. And that's the one they screamed on the microphone, "Oh my God, Cactus Jack is dead!" I think it was Jimmy Cornette, and they were like, they killed Cactus Jack. And the son of a bitch got up and got back in and still put the match over for from those Mascaris and went on. And dude, like I said, I a huge fan. I've met him many times. I've seen him in all kinds of grotesque, violent matches, the kind that you have to be in those dingy arenas, smoke-filled areas to see, because you're not going to catch that on TV.
No.
And Mick did it whether it was 20,000 people or 20. You got the same show.
So during this match, and this is a point because we'll obviously go over the finish, but prior to this match, there was an interview done with Mick Foley,
right?
Backstage, where and I'm not gonna quote it, so guys, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I remember more or less he says something along the lines, "I'll never say I quit, I quit, I quit." And little did we know that during this match, if I'm right, The Rock, who had been beating the living hell out of him towards the end of the match. Do you remember what happened during at the end of the match? I forgot. He took a real big bump somewhere.
Oh, that was they were up on the railing.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the Rock went into the audience. It came out and hit Foley, and Mankind went off and into the big electric panel. Sparks flying, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's going to be electrocuted." And same thing, just that hip shot of his down crashing through that big monitor, and that's where they took him, and the violence continued. The chair shots went past the 5 to 11 to where I'm sure Cactus didn't know where he was, who he was, just that he had to do what he was doing.
The Rock said, "Mankind, get your monkey ass back in the ring."
Absolutely.
The Rock said that Mankind would quit. "Mankind, do you give up?" And then what happened when he put the microphone to his mouth to an unconscious?
You hear?
Cactus.
I quit.
Dude, I was like, holy crap. Now, I remember watching it live, and I said, wait a second, that sounds recorded. And it came to be that The Rock had used that little sound bite to go over Mick Foley, because Mick Foley never actually quit in that match.
No.
And The Rock became the heavyweight champion of the world.
Champion.
If you smell what I'm sorry, I like The Rock a lot.
Awesome. Apparently you're doing very well, my friend.
He's awesome.
Yes, and The Rock became a 2-time WWF World Champion.
And he also held that weird looking belt that they had a couple of months ago.
Yes.
Is that? Let me ask you a question. Is that the shortest, lifespan for a title belt?
I think so. That wasn't even worth the time.
Right? I know we're going off topic a little bit, but that belt was only around for maybe 3 months, 4 months.
The only thing I like about the new belt, well, two things. One, it doesn't spin, and the other thing is that it actually says. Yeah, I hear you. It actually says.
Oh my God, it's a toy.
Yes, that's the best I got. It actually says World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
Which the WWE has not proclaimed in years for their champion. It was just the WWE champion.
Yeah, well, this one over here, the old spinner belt, just says champ.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They're actually calling it a world champion title, not just the WWE.
So really quickly, just to recap this this match, I mean, what your overall impression and your overall thought process, in short form, about the impact that this match had in the wrestling world?
This match was as hard hitting as it was to watch. It definitely, as you briefly said, it changed the sport itself of pro wrestling. In the WWF stopped allowing the headshots, unprotected head. It started off where even it was with the protected shots, they still were allowing those, and now you don't see them at all.
No.
Same way that when Stone Cold had his neck broken with a pile driver, that move was done and it was out.
That's a story for another day, Bill.
Yes, definitely. That's another one. But it's just a thing where it's just a little something that you come up with on the fly. They're calling a match, and they do it. The crowd was hot. They were going, and it was like, keep doing the shots, keep doing the shots. I'm sure Foley's still paying for those headshots to this day and how much damage it had done down the road. But that match The Rock was a heel, and he was awesome. And The Rock was one of my favorites, whether he was a face or a heel. The Rock was just The Rock, dude, and he was great. And this was one of their best matches. And Foley, as always, made his opponent looked fantastic because of the amount of bumps and damage that he could take.
I agree.
And it also makes you look at Mick Foley and you're like, he's invincible. You can't really beat this man no matter what you do. He keeps coming like a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
He just keeps coming at you no matter what. You beat him, you set him on fire, you cut him, he continues to keep coming at you. And the only thing that's kept him out of the ring now is that the doctors have told him that you can't do it anymore, kid, you're out.
Right.
And he was happy to hear that. He actually said it took a lot of weight off of his chest. That he was in because he was going to go in the ring, just to not to go too far off, but he had a match that was scheduled. He was going to break Dean Ambrose onto Raw. This was prior to the Shield because he was working an angle with him in NXT, and he was working that match and getting ready to get cleared for it. And the doctors, they checked him out and they did the brain scans and everything else, and they said that we cannot clear you. You cannot wrestle anymore.
Well, the good thing about this is the good thing, if there is a good thing, is that Mick Foley is still relatively extremely young, and he saved his money. As you know, Mick Foley was a cheapskate.
He is the biggest.
He's the biggest cheapskate, but he lives a great life. I wonder if he still drives that old Volkswagen, but I don't think it was a Volkswagen. What was it? Do you know what his car is?
It was like a Dodge Dart.
Like a Dodge Dart. That's what it was, a Dodge Dart. And we all know The Rock is a Hollywood superstar, so he's
Dwayne Johnson, sir.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson. I'm sorry, but anyway, dude, this was literally probably, and I'm so happy you brought this match up because it's one of those matches, like I said, just talking about it.
Yeah,
you grimace, you cringe, you get excited. It's one of the best. The Attitude Era, one of the best. They say the '80s was the golden age. I agree, but I think, man, the Attitude Era
in 2000, that was lightning in a bottle, bro.
It was, but.
And this match was, always they will talk Hell in a Cell with Foley and the Undertaker, but I don't know. This match had something different to it because the stuff that happened in that Hell in a Cell match, a lot of that wasn't supposed to really happen, and it was accidental type of bumps. This was just pure viciousness.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Just straight up these, he's taking 25-foot falls into that electrical equipment. The chair shots alone are just enough to blow your mind, and just bumps galore. The Rock beat him half to death.
It was to steal the line from The Rock, one of the most electrifying matches I remember ever watching. Now, Bill, we're gonna move on from this. We're going to jump into our very next segment. And our very next segment, my friend, is what we call here the main event. The main event, Bill, why don't we jump into the main event? What is the main event, sir?
Well, the main event, we're dealing with War Games. The creation of Dusty Rhodes back in the late 80s as Crockett Promotions was on the rise. Ric Flair, Sting, the Road Warriors. And Dusty Rhodes had went to the movies with his girlfriend and went and saw Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. Mm-hmm. And a light came on in his head. And he was like, what could we do to do something like that?
No, you got to do it, and you have to do it in Dusty Rhodes' voice.
Sorry, baby. What can I do? What can a dream come up with, baby? If you will, in public, to take and put 5-10 men in a steel cage every night, and have everyone in that match involved in a feud, baby. It would be glorious. We could do it during the Great American Bash. Love it, baby. Love it.
There you go. That made me feel a lot better.
There you go. And it was something that was old as the sport itself. It was a simple cage match, except it was 2 cages over top of 2 rings, built up where it was a total of 10 men would wind up entering this ring. 2 men entered in the beginning, mm-hmm. and they would be in there for 5 minutes.
Right.
And then a coin toss would be done to decide which team got the 2-on-1 advantage, and from that point onward would always be ahead. And the first and greatest, in my opinion, was Dusty Rhodes Road Warriors, going up against
The Four Horsemen.
yeah. I'm sorry. Oh, gosh,
It's
how can I
okay.
forget that? That's okay. Ric Flair. Arn
Wait. Who was the fourth member? There was Dusty Rhodes. The Road Warriors. Was it Lex Luger?
No, Luger was not in there on the first one. That was
Can't remember off the top of my head.
was
But don't worry about it. Anyway,
Okay.
just move on. I'll figure it out. What year was it again?
That was we're talking 87.
Right. Okay. Go ahead.
The first one was in Greenville, North Carolina, and the second one that ended up they had two major matches during the Great American Bash. The last one ending up in Miami. But this would go on, and the first two men in the ring were Dusty Rhodes and Arn Anderson, two guys that always hated each other in the sport. In pro wrestling, there was no more hatred between two guys.
Question, real quick. This was 1987, you said?
Yes.
Okay, because I have here. Oh wait, I'm looking at 1988. War Games.
88 was Luger.
Oh, so 88 was Luger. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
No problem. That was he had left the Horsemen and was and joined up with Dusty Rhodes, and that was Luger's run when he was U.S. champion.
Yeah, I'm seeing here. Oh, here it is. Dusty Rhodes, Lex Luger, and the Road Warriors versus Ric Flair, Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and J.J. Dillon.
Right.
This is the one where J.J. Dillon, if I'm correct, was
first one. The Road Warriors put him up in their finisher, took him off, and he broke his collarbone.
And if I'm correct, they used the bracelet that had the spikes, and they kind of rubbed it in his face until he submitted. Am I right?
That was a different match, but
that was a different match.
Yeah, he
guys, we don't go over this just so you know. We just kind of wing it. So
JJ was not a big fan of being part of these matches because he knew that he was the one that was going to get beat down and tortured.
The brunt.
Yeah, and it even got to the point where they had, during the series, one of the times the ring they had was a little bit separated, and there was a gap, and JJ would sneak down underneath the ring and hide because he knew Hawk was coming in,
right.
And he didn't want Hawk to get him, and that worked for a while. And then he would sneak up and get back and try to get to the door, and he'd always get caught, and it really popped the crowd. And then Hawk started following him down in underneath the ring, and both of them would be under the ring, they said, for like 10-15 minutes while this is going on. And then like all of a sudden JJ's head would pop up, and he would look around and look safe and go to get out, and then all of a sudden Hawk would come up and grab him and pull him back down under the ring.
Oh, is this the one where Animal, I think not Animal, it was Hawk who took Tully Blanchard, was bashing him, picking like gorilla pressing him onto the top of the cage?
Yes.
Oh my God, that was awesome. Yeah. By the way, the cage had a top on it.
You had a top on the cage. It was a regular, old school type of steel mesh dog run. Sharp wires hanging out of it. If it broke down, they wired it back up. It wasn't like this was not the Elimination Chamber. This is not Hell in a Cell. This was, on the fly, doing what you had to do.
Oh, yeah.
And this was a big seller, and the crowds were hot for this because everybody involved, obviously, Dusty Rhodes' feud with the Horsemen is beyond legendary. And they had always attacked, and what could he do to even the odds? And that was part of what this culmination of talent coming into the ring. And all these guys had individual feuds with each other.
Got it. Road Warriors, Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, and Paul Ellering defeated. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger was in the match. Tully Blanchard and James J. Dillon with Dark Journey, baby.
Dark Journey, yes, that was the one in Miami.
Yeah, I'm going crazy looking for it because I knew Luger was in the match.
Yes, because that was Luger. I knew that it wasn't.
He wasn't a face Luger.
I knew it wasn't Oley, because Oley was already out of the Horsemen.
Yeah, he was already gone.
Right. So yes, that was Luger, and then by the following year, as this became an annual event. The contestants A lot of them stayed the same. It was still the road. It was still the Road Warriors involved with Dusty. Then you also still had the Horsemen going in. And then it would be individuals that they had on their side, whether it be Dr. Death, Steve Williams, it would be Nikita Koloff again, all kinds of individuals. These matches went on for years. Eventually turned into the War Games themselves. It had its own pay-per-view for part of the Fall Brawl, I believe it was. And it changed the industry in many ways because there was a young guy not in the business yet who was a huge fan of the NWA.
And who would that be?
This young kid named Paul would grow up and marry the boss's daughter, and the company was the WWF, and in the WWE, and his stage name was Triple H, and Triple H.
Paul Levesque or something,
Paul
huh?
Levesque. Yeah, Paul Levesque. Paul Levesque was a huge fan of Ric Flair and the NWA product. He'll admit it,
Right.
even though his father-in-law hates him when he says it.
It's true.
He was an NWA guy. He
was he was.
WWF guy at all. And he's been trying. He had tried for years to get Vince to put the War Games in. Vince would have nothing to do with it.
Oh wait. So, how could you imagine the War Games today?
To throw that back today would be tremendous.
All right, who would you? All right, real quick. I know we're gonna do a dream match next in the next minute or two, but let's say you had the opportunity to kind of book a War Games match right now with the wrestlers right now on the roster. Who would you do?
Well, I'd go one of two ways. I would either go completely NXT.
Oh.
That way, it would be all the young talent that nobody knows yet, except they have their followers. But these are all young, hungry guys. They're going to do all kinds of what they got to do to get over. And who could get over bigger than to have a War Games on the network for $9.99 on one of their super shows for the network,
right.
Where they have a 2-hour show and it's the War Games comes to NXT. I think that would be tremendous. I don't know all the guys on that roster
right.
because I'm more of an old school cat. So those guys, I'm not up to who all them guys are because a lot of them who I did know have all transferred up the Shield. And these are the guys who would be on my list for the main roster. I don't know about you, but I would have to have Dean Ambrose.
Oh, absolutely.
Have Seth Rollins.
Let's make up 2 five-man teams right now.
All right.
The heel team and the babyface team.
All right.
Let's think.
Heel team, I would say would be the Wyatt family.
Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3 guys already, so you need two more guys.
And
don't say Rybacksel.
No, and I was not going to say Rybacksel. And actually, on a note for that, Ryback is leaving the company temporarily. He's got a lot of surgeries he's getting done. Yeah. And Rob Van Dam, speaking of old school, his last match will be next week, and he is not renewing his contract with the WWE.
Yeah, he's probably dumb.
Yeah. But regardless, he saved his money too, and he's well equipped with BC Bud and everything else.
Yeah,
so
he could do indies and just get his fix like Matt Morgan did, because Matt Morgan.
Yeah.
I also did an interview with him at OneWrestling.com. He was telling us, he chose to like not wrestle anymore, and those are guys that are smart. They save their money, and they invested wisely, and I'm sure they have side projects, and whenever they get the itch, like Matt was saying, to wrestle, they just wrestle those local independent events.
A headline independent set.
Yeah, you get a couple
money. There you go.
Yeah,
yeah,
all right, so we got the Wyatts.
3. You pick the other 2.
All right, so out of the heel team, you got the Wyatts. So there's 3 guys. Yeah, but that was easy. You only had to pick 3. All right, so let me think. Well, you're not gonna put Brock Lesnar in there. You don't need to put Brock Lesnar in there.
No. They're by himself against 5 men.
You know who you want to put in? You want to put somebody that you really want to get over. So I would put in. There's always a fun guy, like a Weasley guy that you really want to see his ass get kicked. So I will put Bo Dallas in there.
There you go.
I will put Bo Dallas because then he will be with his brother. So you got Bo Dallas, right? And then you're gonna need one more guy. Believe.
Yes, believe.
I believe in Bo Dallas. And then we got. Let's see. Who will be the 5th member of that roster? Let's say you can go with Cesaro. You can go with
How about Damien
Oh, Damien Sandow, boom.
Sandow?
Damien Sandow, and that would, I'm talking about, this is to elevate them now. Babyface team.
Yes.
Um, first you're gonna. All right, go ahead.
I, I'll give him one. First, so my main pick, Dean Ambrose, because he's my favorite of the new guys on the roster.
Dean Ambrose. I was gonna say you put the Usos in there.
Yes,
you
got
like
it. Then you got the Wyatt and that. Yes.
You put the Usos in there. Man, all right. Somebody who you want to see kick Bo Dallas's ass.
I say also with Bray Wyatt, because this could be the lead up. You have the Usos going against
Right. So I would.
and who Bray's going against everybody in the company. So it could be any face you want.
Oh,
Go
Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. Put Dolph Ziggler in the match, and we need one more face, right?
Yep.
Who would you put? We want to put somebody who we're trying to now really elevate. So let's put in the young guy. Let's put in the guy that we want to put over, a guy that we think has potential to be a superstar. A young guy.
You have it's Cesaro, bro. I would definitely put Cesaro in.
Yeah, but Cesaro will be on the other side because he's a heel.
He's a tweener right now.
All right, so we take
ability to this would make him. This would cause them to make the decision to make
him the face. Okay, I could see that, man. I could see
that. He would go over huge because he's so strong. Or you could go over one of the. I don't want to pick one of those guys.
Or bring up one of the young kids from NXT. Bring up like a Sami Zayn.
Perfect, Sami Zayn.
You know what I'm saying? Sami Zayn, who's been a surprise. We'll make him a surprise entry.
Surprise entrance.
You know, so we have our fifth. Sami Zayn. I think it'll be great, man. Or you could put like Bray Wyatt and like maybe two NXT kids like a tag team instead of his usual tag team. Put the Ascension in there.
The Ascension, yeah, we could bring them up. There you
go.
go.
God, the Ascension, and on the other side, like I said,
these are all the kind of guys I'm looking at. If it was to be an NXT,
yep.
Hey, you could have that mixed in where you have
absolutely,
Generico. I'm sorry, I can still call.
I know
road names.
He's Generico to me.
Adrian Neville. For the faces, there's such talent that's still there that hasn't been brought up yet, and the Ascension is fantastic.
What's the kid's name in NXT that he's looking at? He's like kind of that narcissist, like that pretty boy, calls everybody uggos.
Oh yeah, he kind of reminds you of Dolph Ziggler because of the blonde hair.
I like him. I like him a lot.
He's a small guy. He's like a cruiserweight. He's got like the fuzzy boots.
Yeah, I can't remember what the hell his name is. Doesn't really.
It's terrible. Irregardless, he's definitely a guy that you could put in that match that would elevate and bring him up because he's a guy that they're definitely pushing.
Right.
He's got potential written all over him. He's very good in the ring. I'm not big on that character. I've never liked that kind of character.
Really? I think he does it well.
He does it great. I'm just not a fan of the. He's like a newer model of the model, Rick Martel. I am a model, arrogance, stuff like that.
No, I guess
not as campy, obviously. He's more not sure which side of the team he's playing on. You know what I mean? It's a little. Nervous with the fuzzy boots because the beautiful people wear them same boots in TNA. I'm just saying.
I hear you. I'm actually still I'm trying to find out the name of the kid, but really quickly, to wind down, basically, I mean this match, which was the War Games, actually I think was a huge part in the WWE recently, where they basically Eric Bischoff brought in the Elimination Chamber. It was kind of like the prelude to the Elimination Chamber, and again. I like the idea of the match. I think the match would definitely go over. I don't know why Vince McMahon doesn't want to do it. I mean, I know why. I know he's not.
Because it's not
his creation.
Created by him. And when I guarantee, I bet cash money on it that the year that Vince McMahon actually either steps down or, God forbid, passes away, because he may stay until they put him in the ground, but Triple H will have that match.
You think so?
I believe he's got that in his head constantly. Every day, every year, he's making that new match and booking it. who would it be this year if Vince lets me get it? Who am I going to have? To me, I think it would be fantastic to have it be the NXT talent. That way you could do old school, but with the new setting, and it'd be something that fans of that genre of the NXT generation, growing up now, learning from the network,
Right.
the history of the sport via WWE's interpretation of it. I think for them to see that match with their new upcoming young stars would be really cool. To me, it would be great, and you could bring in old time. I say old timers, bring in the veterans who were part of the war games to talk it up, to build it up in the weeks and months as it's upcoming, and the prelim show, have them call on the match. It'd be fantastic if you could get JR to come in and do it, but JR and WWE are no longer together, and they're never really going to get back to. They should never say never, but I don't think JR is ever coming back. He's very happy doing what he's doing.
Right. I'm actually very, very frustrated right now because I'm going crazy. I see pictures of this kid.
You can't find this guy, huh?
I see pictures of the kid here, but for some damn reason they won't give me Tyler Breeze. Holy crap! Tyler freaking Breeze. I'm so angry right now. But you know what will make me happy? Let's talk about this week's dream match. Anyway, the dream match this week, and we're gonna run through this quickly. We're gonna quickly book the match. We only got about 5 minutes left for our show. Let's book this dream match first. Who are the competitors, my brother?
Competitors are going to be
what year, by the way? First,
in 1988, WWF Tag Team Champions, the Hart Foundation with Jimmy Hart. That's Bret Hart. That's Jim the Anvil Neidhart. For those who don't know, going up against the NWA World Tag Team Champions, Jimmy Cornette's Midnight Express with beautiful Bobby Eaton, Sweet Stan Lane, in a best-of-3 falls contest.
So wait, you're saying like a three series?
A three series.
3-match series.
Yes.
Oh, okay. What's the first match?
First match is going to be a no DQ 30-minute match. Strictly wrestling. Old school type of but it's no DQ, no holds barred type of deal to go through. You want to do the matches in a row, or you want me to call them out how we're doing them?
No, we'll give me all the matches and then book all 3 matches. Tell me the outcome.
Second match.
So can we call this a unification match?
We could call this a world unification match. Yes,
okay,
we could.
So this is for the NWA and WWF titles.
Yes.
Oh,
we would finally have the World Tag Team Champions.
Let's just for fun. Where is it taking place?
This is I was trying to think about that, and it was.
How about the Tokyo Dome?
Yeah, it would need to be somewhere big because obviously the WWE fans would say Garden or something like that.
All right, it's between the Tokyo Dome and Wembley Stadium.
Ooh. No, let's go to Tokyo.
Okay, all right. So we're doing.
I say the Tokyo Dome.
Tokyo,
hi.
Oh, shit, I don't want to reveal myself as El Diablo.
El Diablo.
El Diablo.
Second match, we would have a WWF blue steel cage match.
Yes, the big blue cage.
Blue cage. This match would be escape through the door or over the top. This is WWF rules. A little bit of a switch up for the Midnight Express, who would be used to NWA steel cage rules, which are only to keep you in and your other opponents' guys from coming in to jump in.
That way Cornette and Jimmy Hart can't get involved.
Yes.
Okay.
So we think. And if there needs to be a final match, the final match would be Night of the Skywalkers.
Jesus.
Scaffold match between the Hart Foundation and the Midnight Express.
Holy cow.
That's only if it needs to go that far.
I think it's going to go that far.
It's a hell of a contest.
I think it's going to go that far, my friend.
I think it will.
I think it will. All right, so why don't do you want me to book the matches first, or you want to book the matches first?
Jump ahead. Jump right in.
All right, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna show you how it's done, my brother. I'm gonna book
Right,
these
let's
matches
go.
really quick. So I got the 30-minute match. So this is where I'm gonna do it. So now this is gonna be probably, if not the best match of the series, maybe winning Pro Wrestling Illustrated's Match of the Year award. It's gonna be the 30-minute no DQ match where they fight this match in the ring, I'll say 25 or 20 minutes out of the 30 minutes, but the other 10 minutes, they're outside the ring. They're in the crowd, everywhere. The managers are getting involved. The managers are getting into a fight. Jim Cornette is chasing Jimmy Hart around the ring.
With racket.
With the racket, and Jimmy Hart, it's going crazy. But I think finally what happens during this match. Now I'm gonna assume that the Hart Foundation are the babyface team.
Yes.
At this time, all right. So let's say I'm gonna book the Hart Foundation as a babyface. So the Hart Foundation has, let's say, Beautiful Bobby Eaton up for that clothesline, for that finisher that they do, and just as Bret Hart is going into the ropes to hit the clothesline, Jim Cornette, boom, hits him with the tennis racket, knocking him out. And then I see Bobby Eaton rolling up Jim the Anvil Neidhart in a small package. 1, 2, 3. They win the first match. So the first match I have going over is the Midnight Express. Now the second match is the Texas Tornado Tag Team match. Now this is a fun way I see it ending. Now this is going to be a bloody match. Yes. Everybody's going to bleed. Outside, the managers are going to be bleeding. How? I don't know. But Jim Cornette makes his way inside the ring with the tennis racket. He actually he knocks the referee out with the tennis racket, takes the key, opens the door. Now as he is trying to get into the cage, Jimmy Hart hits him with the megaphone, then tosses the megaphone into the ring. But at the same time, the Midnight Express get their hands on the tennis racket. So everybody's beating the hell out of each other with weapons. It's going crazy. Finally, another referee comes down to the ring, and you know who that referee is?
Dangerous Danny Davis.
Dangerous Danny Davis comes to the aid. So as let's say Stan Lane is about to climb the top of the top cage. They're racing. It's Bret Hart, Stan Lane, Bret Hart, Stan Lane. Stan Lane has the advantage. Stan Lane's about to go over. Danny Davis climbs the rope, grabs him by the leg, and holds him down as Bret Hart, a babyface Bret Hart, goes over, turning this team heel. So now we have heel and heels going at each other. The last match is a scaffold match, and this is going to be one hell of a match. It's going to be horrible, by the way. But I see all the competitors on that scaffold. Every competitor. Now, the funny thing I see Jim Cornette, again, hanging from the bottom of the scaffolding, but I also see Jimmy Hart hanging right next to him, and they're throwing kicks at each other. They're kind of kicking each other like little girls, you know what I'm saying? They're kicking each other. And I actually see Jim the Anvil Neidhart standing face to face with Beautiful Bobby Eaton. They both look down at their managers, and they both at the same time step on the hands of both managers. Both managers go crashing down to the canvas. They're out of the match. It's just Beautiful Bobby. It's just the Hart Foundation, and you have the Midnight Express up top there. They're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I see this match ending where Jim Cornette kind of left the tennis racket laying on the side there. It's on the other side. And I see Bret the Hitman Hart not using the megaphone, but hitting Beautiful Bobby Eaton over the head with the tennis racket, and Jim Neidhart getting the pin. And I think the Hart Foundation go over as the unified tag team champions of the world.
Well, the only problem with that is that's not how the match is booked.
Okay.
You have to knock both of your opponents off with the scaffold.
Oh. Okay, so then, okay. All right. Oh, that's right. Okay, so then, all right, so we still go with Bret Hart using the tennis racket.
Yes.
Knocking Beautiful Bobby off the scaffold. And then it's Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and you have Stan Lane standing in the middle.
Right.
Like what the hell's going to happen? Jim the Anvil Neidhart goes to hit him.
Savant kick.
He goes to hit him with a kick or something like that. But basically what happens is he actually runs into, let's say, a big boot or something like that. And he goes off the cage. So now it's just Bret Hart and Stan Lane on top of the scaffold, and they go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Where I think finally Bret Hart is able to knock him off using the megaphone, and they go over. So
that'll work. I like the way you book things, right? That's you did that nice and tight. And you know the best part of these matches would be?
What's that?
The photographs, because Bill Apter would have been taking the best pictures during this time, and he'd have been all over the place.
Yes.
It would have been fantastic.
Oh, yeah. So is there anything you would change?
Well, little tweaks to how it was. You know, if you want my opinion, I had the first match being the Hart Foundation winning right down to the last seconds of the match. Bret Hart having Stan Lane in the sharpshooter and him submitting with them winning that. And then the second match, I had both men climbing up that, and then Bobby Eaton, confused with how these cage matches are working at WWF, doesn't climb over. Stan Lane has the Vegematics set up with Jim the Anvil, and Bobby does the Alabama Jam from the top of the cage.
Top of the blue cage.
Top of the blue cage.
Holy crap.
Onto him, and with that, Bret would go up and over, winning the match. And he had it that way. And the way you called the scaffold match, pretty much an agreement. That's all I saw. A lot of chaos, everybody involved, and it would, a lot of great. I think those guys on that scaffold match, out of the ones in the past where you had the Road Warriors, were a little too big, in my opinion, to be able to do a lot of big moves. And the Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express were really good, but neither one of them were big enough to do some of the power moves that you would need, where like a Jim the Anvil Neidhart could do like those, the suplexes and the power slams and stuff like that up there. And Bret is also big enough to do like spike pile driver up there, bounce a guy right off there, down to the ring.
And they're both technical enough to not hurt each other to a point where they can make a mistake where it could end, let's just say, really ugly.
And I like how you went where it was the guy that you didn't want to see end up, and the guy out of guaranteed, Stan Lane did not want to be the last man on there.
Right.
And at the Hart Foundation.
Right.
And because Bobby, there's no doubt in anybody's mind, Bobby was the star. Stan Lane was the Marty Jannetty of this team, as they say, or the Robert Gibson. And
well, maybe he would have been better if he just
believed.
No, I'm sorry.
But if he, I would see that. I would see him looking at that, and the Hart's coming at him, and like I said, I would see him do that savant karate kick thing he would do, and that would hit the anvil, knocking Jim off, and then I would see Bret what he had to do to finish the match. But I love the part with both of them saying, "Screw these guys," and stomping on their ass.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Yes. And both the managers come crashing down at the same time, and they both blow out their kneecaps, brother.
And, brother, you pulling Danny Davis out of the mix and bringing him to the match was fantastic. I didn't even think about that. That is awesome.
Dude, let me tell you something. This is the best thing about old school wrestling. It's a lot of fun to think about, and it's great because, again, it's all about fandom. It's all about enjoying the product. It's all about, imagination. Again, people that take things too serious don't enjoy. And, we're all proponents of enjoying the business for what it is. And it is entertainment. But I always say, Bill, wrestling is not fake. It is predetermined, my friend.
There you go.
These guys are real athletes. Is there anything you want to say to the fans before we cut away, my friend?
It's old school. Don't always remember what went on in the past, because what happened back then is making what's going on today happen, and what's going to happen down the road. And what you're experiencing today is going to be old school for your kids when they're growing up.
That's right.
And it's just something that keeps the sport going and growing. And sometimes you got to take a step back to take 2 steps forward, as they say. And just take advantage. I would say, not that I'm working for them, but for $9.99, the network is for someone who doesn't know anything about wrestling, or you'd be like I had tons of VHS tapes. They went goodbye, or they just, wound up being broken and the VCRs go.
Right.
You don't have them anymore. All these great pay-per-views now, got them all,
Right. Absolutely.
and got every promotion that there was that they have part of. You get to see all these great bookings and great talent that if you grew up in a certain area of the country, maybe you didn't get to observe. So,
well,
that's
listen,
all I got to say.
Like I said, Bill, old school is not a time frame. It's more or less a mentality.
Yes.
It is a mentality. And ladies and gentlemen, before we cut away, I like to always say this. I would do this for a living, but if I can, I would do it anyway. Why? Because I love talking wrestling, especially old school wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, you can follow us here at One Wrestling on Twitter. At One Wrestling, you can follow me at Big Ray Show. Of course, Bill Schuyler at You Got the Show. Follow Andre Corbeil, who does TNA Impact recaps for us here every Wednesday night at Andre_Corbeil. Of course, the legend Bill After's Alley at After One Wrestling. Don't forget to follow our co-host, who's not here with us this week, but will be back next week, Billy Ray Valentine. Check out his podcast on iTunes and Podbeam, and it is the Pro Wrestling Hustle. His name on Twitter is at Billy Ray Hustle, and of course his tag team partners A-Track Brown, and of course the Professor. Hey, again, we had a great time talking some professional wrestling. Don't forget to check out the Can-Am Wrestling Show over on Corbeil's social media. Anything you want to say goodnight?
One thing I'll tell you, everybody, get a chance, go on OneWrestling.com.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Apter's Ice Bucket Challenge.
Oh, yes.
You need to see it. I will say nothing more to you. Watch it. You will go away with a smile on your face, and it's worth the time.
It's kind of reminiscent of for some reason he reminded me of Stan Laurel from Laurel and Hardy.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing, like a Stan Laurel or a Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin.
He just had that look. It was
very old school.
Very old school.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
All
Peace.
right.